Hey everyone, Sir and Disney here, and coming to you earlier than I was anticipating I would be. I'm sorry it's late, but I worked today, so I actually went out for Mother's Day meal with my mother, or a semblance of it, and I just got back a little bit ago. I've been dissecting everyone's videos. I saw the video from UK HHN, and I saw Jean's video, and basically I have a couple of things I want to talk about. Now, it has come to my attention that apparently it seems that we are not necessarily, as a group, on the right track. It's good I know now, because it means that I can change my path and change a little bit of my speculation. And that's exactly what I'm going to do here. Now, I have dissected a bunch of things, as everyone out there knows, and I have come to a lot of conclusions. Well, I have changed my mind a bit on a couple of things. Now, I want to talk about a couple of things before we get started. I want to talk about Casilda's next email, and I want to talk about Dr. Jimmy's latest cryptic performance. So, we start off with the cryptic email this time around is: to market, to buy a fat pig, to slaughter, to cook, to eat, and to jig. Ring the bells, 677. Wake the town, bring down the heavens. Well, this could only be one thing. At least to me, it only could be one thing. And that equals out to the purge. So this is Casilda telling us that we are getting the purge. Completely confirming it because it's basically been alluded to by Dr. Jimmy already. But what's the purge this year? That's the million-dollar question. Not Million-Dollar Arm, which I'll be watching next week, unfortunately. That's the million-dollar question. What is the purge? If you believe that it is a house, then it will be the first of its kind. Obviously, last year, Hollywood had Purge Survive the Night, and it was a street experience in the front of the park. And sorry if I'm incorrect on the placement of it. I have seen a little bit of video, and I've seen the pictures on Dr. Jimmy's Tumblr, and that's pretty much all I have to know anything about the Purge Survive the Night last year in Hollywood. Like I said, I'm an Orlando guy. And I also trumpeted the idea that the Purge was coming to Orlando this year, last year, and I believe that was going to be the case. As a matter of fact, I did speculate last year before we got our full reveal that the Purge was actually going to come last year. Well, it didn't, and I truly believed at that point that it would come now. Now, I know this isn't a big deal, because they were using the event last year, and I'm sure they've been using the events previously. But in the backstage at Universal right now, there is the Walker bomb truck, the white delivery truck that delivered literally the walkers last year during the Walking Dead street experience. And there is the Cary, Ohio school bus, and it, of course, is in the back as well. Now, this doesn't really mean much, but if you watch the trailer to The Purge Anarchy, both of these vehicles are included inside the trailer. So that means that it was always going to be a foregone conclusion we were going to get the Purge this year. But like I said, what does that mean exactly? Does that mean this is going to be a scare zone or a street experience? I think that's a really good possibility. I'm thinking that's what a lot of people think that it's going to happen. Does that mean we're actually going to get a house this year? I'm not completely sure at this point. I think it could be a potential house and scare zone or house and street experience. I did make mention that I thought if there was going to be one solitary street experience this year, like The Walking Dead last year, it would be The Purge. And I have softened on that to believe that The Purge will be a street experience, but will not be the only one. So, we're going to talk about that. Now, I unfortunately have not seen The Purge Anarchy yet. How can I? Unfortunately, it does not come out until July 18th, because they changed the release date. July 18th seems like a really good day to have a video come out between Hollywood and Orlando with Mike Aiello on one side and John Murdy on the other, announcing The Purge as a shared IP for Halloween Horror Nights 24 in Orlando and the event in Hollywood as well. So I believe The Purge will be a share. Now, it's a possibility in Hollywood that The Purge either gets the backlot or the Terror Tram, and I alluded to that in the video before, not the last one, but the one before that. And I think that that possibly could be the case in Orlando, but I don't know for sure. It sounds to me like these cryptic performances that Dr. Jimmy is performing are not necessarily just houses. They also can link to our streets as well. And I want to talk about that. I want to talk about that in great detail, actually. So, like I said, we link The Purge with Casilda's Clues, and I wait for the next one. Obviously, there's one coming up very soon. And Dr. Jimmy's cryptic performance. Okay, Dr. Jimmy's cryptic performance this time was from Les Miserables, and it was the song Stars. And unlike most people in the free world that don't like Russell Crowe's performance, I actually did. So, and that's coming from me, Sir Owen Disney, who does not like Russell Crowe. So that's saying something for me to put him over. Usually, like I said, he needs to be selling lemons by the side of the road with Ed Harris in California because, of course, Ed Harris sells oranges by the side of the road to peddle his wares. That being said, which is a completely weird inside joke with me and my friends. And by friends, I basically just mean HA, because he's the only one that really gets it. But I share it with all of you out there watching this Halloween Horror Night speculation video. So, here's what I'm thinking. Excuse me. You take a literal translation of the song. It's called Stars. First thing that pops in your mind when you think Stars is Resident Evil. Obviously, S-T-A-R-S makes complete sense, right? And that, obviously, is definitely not the right answer. Now, there has been some speculation that we are going to be getting another Resident Evil house this year. And if we're going to get any video game property for the event this year, it's going to be involving Resident Evil. I am under the opinion now that I believe that Resident Evil, which technically does end up somewhat connecting to Casilda's third clue, will not be a house. I think Resident Evil will be one of many intellectual property street experiences. I think there's going to be several IP street experiences at the event this year. I have nothing to judge on that. I'm just going out on a limb here. This is me out on a limb, literally. And I am going to guesstimate that when Dr. Jimmy said in his latest cryptic performance before we got started, he says the words were, I'm not going to have to bake a lot of cookies. Obviously, if you follow Dr. Jimmy, you would know that he gives out smart cookies to the people that dissect his clues and who get the correct answer. I really want one of those cookies, I'm not going to lie. But the thing about it is he said he's not going to have to bake very many because we're all not exactly on the right page. We're steering away from the right page. Thought that was funny. At least in my head it was. And I hate puns, so yeah, it happens. It happens a lot in these Horror Nights videos. It's really weird. So, Dr. Jimmy said that most of us are way off, but doesn't say who's way off or what's way off. Some of us are on the right path, but not quite there, and there's some of us that may be closer than we think. But all in all, it sounds like most of us are thinking in the wrong direction. Wrong direction. Well, to me, that makes me think that what we believe are to potentially be houses may actually be our streets instead. Or we may be completely off our rocker when it comes to our predictions and our speculation. Given the fact that it's only May 10th right now. So we've got a long time before we get our first reveal. Or do we? Or do we? Because it sounds to me like there is a possibility we're going to get our first reveal. Our first reveal will come at the end of this month. Like I said, Mike Aiello tweeted on the Horror Nights Orlando Twitter account that they shot a video in the archive room and it will be coming out soon. And of course, when Dr. Jimmy did his cryptic performance, he mentioned the word soon. Obviously, that means that this is time-sensitive material and we need to get this clue out before Universal itself can potentially give it all away. So, obviously, we have a very important anniversary this year. I wouldn't necessarily say it's a major one, but it's kind of off. I think the Ghostbusters anniversary coming up on June 7th is a big one. And if we are ever going to get Ghostbusters at the event this year, is the only chance we have. Honestly, with the unfortunate passing of Harold Ramis and the fact that this is the 30-year anniversary of Ghostbusters, if we do not get a maze reveal on June 7th, a video with Mike Aiello talking to Ivan Reitman, Ghostbusters will not come to the event this year. I think that's the only way to do it, and I think it's a proper way to do it. If Ghostbusters does come to the event this year, not in a house, maybe a street experience potentially. There's a lot of things you could do with it, and I hope that Ghostbusters does end up coming to the event. I know a lot of people out there, including my friend Vic out there, definitely want Ghostbusters to come to the event. But I'm not sure if this is the year or not. No, we have another big anniversary, a 35-year anniversary, and that comes on May 25th. On May 25th, in the year 1979, I wasn't thought of yet, but I mean, it was kind of it was a couple years before me, so B.O., before Owen. I will say that a very iconic film came out that year and on that date, and that would be obviously connecting to something that we've been speculating on since day one was going to potentially come to the event. And more that we get these cryptic messages, cryptic comments, and clues, we start to believe that this really will happen. And that, of course, would be Ridley Scott's Alien. And I also want to throw out some speculation of myself. Now, I said this on the Horror Night Nightmares forums, and I'm going to stick to it as well. So last December, of course, Epcot every year does the Candlelight Processional at the America Gardens Theater, and there is always a guest narrator. Now, it has been a lot of really awesome people, but one person that was the guest narrator last year was Sigourney Weaver. And I believe it could have been very possible that Sigourney Weaver could have gotten a vehicle or been driven in a vehicle over to Universal to film a new potential Q-Line video for what will end up being the house at the event this year. And I have a lot of reasons to believe that, and it seems more and more likely that a lot of these cryptic performances, there has been a speculation that it was going to be Alien. Well, let me get to the last one, shall we? Let's talk about Dr. Jimmy's final cryptic performance, at least for the time being. Definitely not final. He said himself that there are much more to come. We're at 6 right now, and he's not even halfway done. My personal speculation is that we are going to be getting 15. I could be off on that. I may not be giving enough. It may be like 20 or so. What I think at this point is I think we're getting 8 houses and 7 street experiences. That's what I believe is going to happen. And I think the street experiences will go in line with what happened in 2012. I think that will end up being the case. May be wrong, but I'm speculating, and that's, like I said, that's what I'm here to do. I'm here to speculate. Well, the song, like I said, it does bring up a few things. And when you think of the stars, like I said, stars, literally, Resident Evil. And apparently there's a nice connection to a video game property that we've been hearing is going to come to the event, and that's Dead Space. Which is a possibility, and if that's the case, that ends up being a house. Now, Psycho Massacre Films also connected this to potentially to Halloween. Given the fact that apparently the lyrics, like You're Silent and Sure, and Falling from Grace and everything, it makes sense that it could possibly lead to Michael Myers and Halloween. But I have a different way to take this. And it was interesting because during Dr. Jimmy's video, specifically, he mentions at the very end, after the performance is over, his cat, Bob, she comes in at the very end, and Dr. Jimmy says, "It's nice to have a cat with you. It gets kind of scary and nasty where you can't scream." What happens when you can't scream? Where are you when you can't scream? Outer space. Yes. It makes perfect sense. See, he knows his way in the dark. Talking about falling in flames, i.e. the flamethrower, makes perfect sense. And the fact that if you look into Dr. Jimmy's Tumblr, which of course we know may or may not be clues, which a lot of them have ended up being clues, which I think we've got some interesting things to look into. That's the reason why I've been kind of looking into more properties that potentially could come to the event. It also sounds like we're looking at something different as well when he was mentioning the song and the connection to Alien. So, Only Can Hear You Scream, and the Tumblr having the picture of Alien and Predator having a chess match with the picture near it with the hockey face off, leads me to believe that Alien will end up being a house this year. I think our street experience is Alien versus Predator. I think that'd be interesting. Now, a lot of people are speculating it's going to be a house if we do Alien versus Predator. I already mentioned Predator, and the fact that Bob is a predator. Predator to what, maybe? Maybe, I don't know, a xenomorph, potentially? So yes, it may tell us that we are leading towards an AVP street experience. Something that no one has talked about yet. And I know what you're thinking, and you're off your rocker. And I was like, no, this thing doesn't rock back and forth. If it did, it ended up like when I watched shorts back in my old place, and I ended up tilting my chair back, and I took a bump, and it sucked. But I know how to tuck my chin, so I'm good to go. But, that's what we've got right now with that. And I've done a little bit more looking into everything. And it sounds also to me more and more likely, like I said in the last video I mentioned it, that we are getting the return of Jack the Clown. And hopefully for my sake, we're getting the return of Chance as well. Now, I'm going to bring up something that I was talking to Vic about on Facebook the other day. And I had an idea. Let's say Jack is, I can't call him necessarily an icon, but it makes sense that he would possibly be. He has a presence at the event this year. We'll go with that. And all times, of course, he's making Chance's life miserable and treating her like trash. How about we set up next year's event, our Horror Homecoming 2015, Halloween Horror Nights 25, if we go with that direction. Just like A&D said that we're going to bring the icons back. They were gone for a couple of years. Now they're coming back. What if Jack is taken out, finally, for good, by Chance? Think about it. It would kind of be like Mad Love. Like, completely taken to the extreme. Chance is tired, fed up of everything, and what does she do? She kills Jack the Clown and becomes the icon herself. I thought that needed to be mentioned. But what I do believe right now is that we are going to get Jack the Clown this year. And I think that Orlando will have a potential street experience themed towards clowns. Not just any clowns. I think it's a possibility we are going to literally be getting killer clowns from outer space this year. I think we have a clown scare zone, or street experience, but I also think we could possibly do a Jack the Clown house. Jack the Clown presents the killer clowns from outer space, and of course at the end of the house, Jack comes in and ruins your day. So he has a nice little cameo at the end, kind of like he did in Cabin in the Woods, but this time you can actually have him jump out at you, not just him be up in the rafters. I think that's a good idea. Well, we're looking into more things, and we're looking into more things. I'm looking into this Tumblr, and I'm thinking, maybe, there's more to it than meets the eye. Like, literally, like Transformers, more to it than meets the eye. So, you look into these pictures, and it's interesting in the placement. Even if there's nothing there, it makes you think. If there was the picture of the chocolate pudding, and of course, that connects to Carl and The Walking Dead. Now, right underneath it, there was that picture of the red herring. The cat with the mask on with the red herring in its mouth. Making me truly believe that the red herring was the return of The Walking Dead. So, we don't get The Walking Dead. And the thing talking about putrefaction that I mentioned earlier that could possibly lead to a couple of things, not Walking Dead, actually talking about Resident Evil instead, and leading to our Resident Evil street experience that I already discussed. Now, the geishas, and potentially the picture of Charlie Chaplin, and the picture that could be a flock of, not crows, but nightingales, all lead us to a potential connection to the return of Nightingales. Nightingale's Blood Prey took place in 2011, and strangely enough, even though I did not go to the event, I do have a 2011 Halloween Horror Nights t-shirt. I actually got it right before I got on the plane to come back here. And I was not able to go to the house, not able to go through the experience. I was at Halloween Horror Nights, but let's just say, for sake of argument, that I couldn't go to the event. I kind of entertained the idea of going to the event, but it was pretty much snuffed out like that. Not exactly my decision. We'll go with that. Now, this house took place during World War I. What I believe this could potentially lead to, other than the speculation of like Japanese folklore and a potential connection to an urban legend, this could lead to Nightingale's World War II, which I believe also could be a possibility. Then again, we could also end up getting that as a street experience. That's a possibility as well. Now, there is the connection to Marie Laveau's House of Voodoo, and the fact that it sounds more and more like, through the song New Orleans, that Dr. Jimmy talked about in his cryptic performance, that we're actually going to get American Horror Story this year. And with the fact that I 86'd Walking Dead for Resident Evil in my predictions, it sounds more and more likely that we're actually going to be getting our American Horror Story house, our first of many, starting this year. Could be wrong on that, and it might end up being some sort of an original maybe voodoo themed, playing up the Deathwater Bayou from Busch Gardens last year, and potentially connecting us to vampires, or maybe vampires returning to a street experience. That's a possibility as well. The more and more I don't want it, the more and more I still think that Insidious is probably a foregone conclusion at this point. As so many connections, you can connect to a lot of things. A lot of these cryptic performances, you can connect to Insidious. Even though I'm the only one that connected Masquerade to Insidious, given the fact that Patrick Wilson is in Phantom of the Opera. But then again, that seems like more of a John Murdy clue. So that's also probably not correct. But if it is, seems like I'm the only one that's thinking it could be Insidious. So the more and more I think about it, the more and more I think that Insidious is probably going to happen this year. And the more and more I think about it, it seems also that we're probably going to get American Horror Story this year. Two things I really don't know much about. Now, this is interesting. I talked about Dr. Jimmy's Tumblr in 2 videos ago, and I mentioned a movie called Burnt Offerings. And Burnt Offerings takes a lot from a lot of different things. And one of the things that is utilized in the movie, there is a connection to The Shining. And Dr. Jimmy himself posted the picture of the man in the bear suit. We've been speculating since the beginning of this, back at the beginning of this year, that we were going to get a Stephen King property at the event this year. And The Shining was going to end up coming to Hollywood and Orlando as a shared IP. That with also bringing The Exorcist to Orlando and Hollywood as a shared IP. But that's been the only potential connection I've seen. So of course we have Trick or Treat, the pictures of Brett Kelly, Charlie from Trick or Treat, right before Dylan Baker duns his party, gives him poison chocolate. Then, of course, we have Charlie Bucket, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, as well as a picture of Charlie Brown, which all connects to Trick or Treat. Is this connecting to Trick or Treat, or is this connecting to Sam and pretty much more fan Trick or Treaters, traditionals, maybe getting a street experience? So maybe a Trick or Treat street experience is coming. I think that might be a possibility at this point as well. That would also link up to another IP street experience that I think may end up coming to the event. So, we've got a lot of things to look into, and we have a lot of things to look forward to, and there's still so many things left to come. Now, again, straight kudos to everybody, and I really appreciate these Casilda clues. Thank you to Mystic Freak for sharing those with all of us. And obviously to Dr. Jimmy for his cryptic performances, again, letting us think here in May, when the event is forever away from right now. I mean, seriously. I mean, the event is starting on the 19th of September, and it seems like so long. But literally, it's 4 months and 9 days away, and that's from someone who can't do math. So there. Now, the thing about it is we got so much to speculate right now. We have so many things that we can talk about, and it is awesome. All of this has been absolutely awesome this year. And this speculation has been incredible this year. All the things we're talking about. All the potential IPs that could come to the event, that will come to the event. Some things that will end up coming next year to the event. And all the things in between. So, a lot of things to talk about, and still a lot of things still to come. So, yeah, I believe that we are not seeing the last, not even close, of potential IP scare zones this year. Street experiences that are literally connected to an intellectual property. Not necessarily something original, something that we all know. And I think eventually, somewhere down the line, we may end up getting some sort of a Jack the Ripper or American Werewolf in London street experience in the London area, over by Diagon Alley, in the next couple of years. Like maybe right in front of Diagon Alley, literally in the London waterfront, but not exactly, because we don't know if J.K. Rowling... The rumor we've heard for many years is she wants to let her properties be utilized during Halloween Horror Nights or not. We've heard yes and no, so we don't know exactly what completely to believe until we hear it from her herself. And that's not happening, at least not now. So yeah, there's some interesting things to think about, and interesting speculation as always. So, again, before I go, shout-outs to all my friends at the Horror Night Updaters, and obviously I want to shout out Dr. Jimmy, Adokimo, Psycho Massacre Films, Dr. Emmett Brown 1, aka Vic, Admiral HHN, HHN Trogdor, Mr. Horror Nights, UK HHN, the Horror Nights Updaters themselves, their YouTube channel, check that out. And really great Hollywood content, you can check out HHN Fan I6. Those videos will be out again very soon. Thrill Seeker Network, the Red Steel TV, and Deadly Fear 1283. And of course, continued shout-outs to Sean, Jeremy, Mystic Freak, and Charles from Designing the Fear. So yes, all of you have helped come up with some great speculation, and it'll be interesting to see where we go from here. So I will join you again on the next time that we get a Casilda clue, or if we get another cryptic performance this week. I will be more than happy to speculate on that. So in the meantime, if you like these videos, tell your friends about them, leave a comment, do subscribe, and help spread the word about Pop. If you like our Facebook fan page, it's Sir Owen Disney Pop. If you'd like to friend request me on Facebook, it's Owen Disney. Follow me on Twitter, go right ahead, it's at Sir Owen Disney. Last but certainly not least, you want to send your thoughts, comments, queries, and opinions. If you want to talk Horror Nights with me, your favorite houses, your worst houses, and if you just want to ask me questions, or be a popcaster yourself and send me your speculation, if you want to be on this channel as well, send me an email, siroandisney@gmail.com. In the meantime, I do want to thank you guys and girls out there for watching, and until tomorrow, boys and girls, that's all I got to say about that.